Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Helldivers 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Zero. Let's get to it. So today a funny thing happened on the way to the surface, but before we get to that, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. So let's get into it. So as you saw, as soon as I popped into the location, I already had a supply backpack on, which is not supposed to happen. Every dive is supposed to be kind of a clean slate. You start completely new, always the same. So you have the same primary and secondary, same armor, but everything else is going to be different depending on what stratagems you choose, what modifiers there are for the missions, etc. So right off the bat, there was something weird, which I didn't necessarily notice right away, but I did start to notice right here when I was carrying a backpack in my hand instead of my normal gun. So I don't know how or why that happened, but this has been patched already, so it cannot be exploited. So this is not something that can be done anymore by accident or even if you try. So when I did come in, I did have a railgun and a shield generator pack, so I didn't necessarily not realize that I didn't have a shield generator graphic on my back right away. But I did notice that I was holding a backpack in my hand, and then I started to notice something else. Stratagems were instantaneously cooled down. So I had 0 cooldown for every stratagem. Obviously, I didn't realize this was going on, so I picked things that I thought would help me out in the mission. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't able to use my primary or secondary mission or secondary weapon or grenades. So only support weapon and stratagems, which, you know, the support weapon is a stratagem, but you get my drift. And of course, by the time you get to difficulty 7 or higher, things start to get really complicated really quickly. This was a hatchery, purge the hatchery mission. So we had 3 spots of eggs, 3 hatcheries to destroy eggs. And as you know, or if you don't know, you'll know as soon as you get it, the 500 kilogram eagle is not at all it's cracked up to be, whether it's with eggs or with anything else. If you're trying to take out a Bile Titan with a 500 kilogram, it's got to be almost dead center in order to take him out. Otherwise, it's only going to do some damage. It gets really, you know, you have to be very precise with it. So 500 kilogram, at the time, one of the better ones, but not great. And depending on ship modules that you have unlocked, that may be the best stratagem that you have. You know, best maximum damage stratagem that's available to you. Because sentry guns are decent, but really only okay until you get more ammo, more health, definitely more ammo, and the turn speed is increased. So like turn speed number 1, ammo number 2, health, it's okay. Health is okay because it seems like whether you have that ship module or not, it seems to get meleeed down to zilch pretty quickly no matter what. All right, so Stratagems. What stratagems? If you could pull a stratagem every 5 seconds, what stratagem would you use? I mean, currently, you would certainly think about the barrages, the 380 and the 120 barrage, because those are both very decent now compared to what they were before, where they were just kind of a shotgun scatter shot. It was not an aerial denial, area of denial, which was what they had originally intended with those barrages. You know, the napalm strike would be better at something like that, especially for bugs. So at the time, 500 kilogram was probably one of the best ones. And I would say probably the laser napalm is decent to keep bugs off of your trail. The 500 kilogram was probably the best one of the bunch. Other than the laser. You know, the big problem with the laser is you can only use it so many times in a mission, and it has such an incredible cooldown that you really have to kind of save it for special occasions, as it were. Unlike the eagles that you can throw down quite often, and they come back relatively quickly. And of course, you know, depending on what ship modules you have unlocked. So in terms of utility, in terms of damage, the laser is, in this case, probably one of the best ones at the time. Now, if the same thing were to happen, the 380 and the 120 barrages are really good. And then, of course, like the laser. The laser is still pretty good. Simply because it takes a long time to take down like a Bile Titan or a Charger. And, of course, Chargers have a whole host of issues because they're a heavy tank. They're quick. Even running with light armor, they can catch up to you. So there's all kinds of issues trying to get away from a Charger. And even focusing on a leg doesn't seem to hamstring it at all. Still able to rush you until you take it out. So once I figured out, oh yeah, I get stratagems all the time. Yeah, I started calling stratagems in all the time. That was really the only balance to not having grenades or a primary or a secondary weapon. It was slightly off balance in my favor, but think about all the melee attacks that you have to basically avoid in order to take advantage of having instant stratagems. So if I had come into it knowing, I might have grabbed a, and you can see some of the glitches that are corresponding, that are causing the game because of these other things that are happening. Things under the hood that are happening. Like the game's like, hey, what's going on here with this? You've got 2 backpacks on, no primary, no secondary, and it's causing extra calculations, I think. Taking up more memory, so things like the trees start glitching out. Plus, whenever you have a lot of things happening on a screen at a time, you're going to have some problems. Either your frames are going to dip, or you have instability within the game itself where you could have a crash. Alright, so it doesn't work with the artillery, obviously. Only the regular stratagems. Yeah, so a case like this, something like a machine gun support weapon would probably be better. But, of course, machine gun takes a long time to reload, especially when it's empty. Yeah, and even though I did 2 eagles on the platform, and there's still tons of guys, look at that, just outside of the platform. Yeah. Radius and kind of line of sight of damage is a bit of an issue. So that has nothing to do with the other problems that are going on here. That is just a general problem within the space of the 500 kilogram stratagem. Oop, tossed something, but I don't know what happened. Oh, there it is. Yeah, at some point you realize you really don't have to be too far out from the 500 kilogram in order to be safe from damage. Especially with the shield backpack at that time, but even now. What do you guys think? Is that a fair trade-off? Not having any other weapons, only stratagems to use during a mission? Or is it more or less balanced out because you don't have that ability to fend off these melee attacks? Most of your attacks come from your weapons, whether it's a support weapon or your primary or a grenade. Without those, now support weapon obviously you can still use. In this instance, and the railgun was the only support weapon for a while, and now it's branched out quite a bit where you can use just about anything except for a railgun. Railgun got hurt, I think, a little bit too much, where it just doesn't quite do enough damage, and I think part of it is that they want to have hull divers do more teamwork and not less teamwork. So here we had so much chaos going on around the terminal to leave the mission that we couldn't actually engage the terminal to get out of the mission. And that's with 2 Helldivers not close to the mission point. I dislike static fields so much. It's one of those things that I just cannot stand. I know there are some people that like them because it basically keeps bugs, bots, whatever from getting any closer to you. But if it's an EMS sentry, then you don't have control over where it gets put down. So that's a bit of an issue. All right, let's see if we can actually get out of here. Relatively easy command, and now we got 2 minutes to wait. Yeah, each 500 kilogram is only taking out about 10 enemies at a time. or less. Even with a big train of enemies, you're only getting a certain number of kills each time. It's really, really crazy for something that you kind of think of as the mother of all bombs. I think a lot of people had that thought that that's what you were getting with the 500 kilogram. You were getting this gigantic explosion, where it's not really that. It's more of a large bomb, but still a bomb. Five more bugs down. 500 kilogram, though, really is more for the large bugs, but that gets complicated because chargers are very quick, much faster than they probably should be, but I mean, that you can't call them chargers if they're not going to charge. Even a rhino can charge you, and they're many 100 pounds. But the constant charging is what I have issue with. It must be leg day every day for those chargers. 4 bugs down. It's crazy. All right, so that's the end of the first weird mission that all this stuff was going down. And then getting back to the Super Destroyer, then all of a sudden this happened. So it was almost like the game was calling for an item that isn't actually there. And then it continues on here. Now I've got a question mark in my hand and on my back. So both the weapon and the backpack are like, hey, I don't know what this item is. We're putting a big purple question mark, or magenta maybe. Just so the developers are, when they're testing it, can clearly see that something's up. All right, so on to an exterminate mission. Small map. 500 kilogram doesn't make a difference because you're only talking about maybe 5 meter radius, 10 meter at most. Now 100%, I assumed I would be able to call in stratagems and wouldn't have access to anything else. So dropped on a shield backpack and then 3 other stratagems that I could just try out one after another and see what works, what doesn't. And, as I said, really rough for like the hunters, the stalkers, where they are jumping up on top of you in no time flat. So although it gives you a certain advantage, you certainly have disadvantages. So it was kind of nice, though. I almost kind of wish that they had something like this as a sandbox where you can try different stratagems to see what works in especially like this type of scenario where you have just enemies upon enemies coming after you. so you can kind of see what works, what doesn't work. No experience or anything else. You know, I don't want the experience. I don't want the requisition credits. I just want to try out stratagems and see how it does. So outside of a live mission. But if you're going to try it out, should it be instantaneous or should it be where you can kind of actually see how it would work? Just kind of something different, something just kind of fun to play around with, so that you could check it out. Yeah, EMS was the bonus stratagem. So because it was there, people would use it. There we go. A lot of these samples are right on the edge of the map. And as you can see, although the laser's been used, it's not ticking down, and of course instantaneous use. Still trying to kite these guys. It's basically all kiting and stratagems when you're doing this. Running around, toss a stratagem, run some more, toss another stratagem. So a lot like a normal match, but without primary or secondary or grenades. Alright, now the same thing, only with bots instead of bugs. So this time around we got the mortar sentry, and then I saw, oh wait, can I have multiple mortar sentries? And yeah, you can. I almost thought in my head, as soon as the next one came down, then one of the other ones would disappear. Can only imagine the amount of bedlam that happens because of a whole bunch of mortar sentries. But we'll leave it at that. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.
Requesting orbital. Firing orbital laser. Requesting sentry. Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry. Requesting orbital strike. Orbital inbound. Sending in an eagle. Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry. Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry. Calling down a sentry. Orbital inbound. Requesting sentry. Calling down a sentry. Requesting sentry. Calling down a sentry. Once more. The extraction shuttle awaits your request. Calling down a sentry. Requesting air support. Extraction Pelican 1 arriving at coordinates. Pelican 1 landing sequence initiated. Watch where you're standing. Calling in reinforcement. Request approved. Reinforcements on the way. Countdown initiated. Stand by for takeoff. Ready to liberate. Requesting orbital. Orbital incoming. Firing orbital laser. Extraction complete. Pelican 1 beginning ascent. Liberty has seen you through.
ステーション